Welcome to the Clean Comedy Podcast, featuring James Creviston and Luke LaCoy. Yeah, we're about to get clean up in here, so clean your mouth out with a bar of soap and get ready for the Clean Comedy Podcast.
Hey everybody, it's James. Welcome to the Clean Comedy Podcast. Today I'm here with my trusty co-host. I know I said I wasn't going to say that anymore, but I always do. Trusty co-host, Mr. Luke LaCoy.
Hello, call me Creviston 2.0.
We are matchers. We have like the same chair now, and we're dressing almost the same. I think we got similar haircuts now too.
It works. It works.
It does work. And today we have a pretty awesome guest for you. First of all, he lives in one of my favorite cities in the world. I'm a huge Eagles fan. I would nerd out with him about that, but then this whole podcast would just be about how much I love Philadelphia and how when I went to New Jersey, I was there for a week, and I literally drove to Philly every day to go to Tony Luke's and get 2 cheesesteaks and eat one on the road home and eat one for dinner every night, and I gained like 10 pounds. It was the best week of my life, besides being married and having kids. You know, I better say that, otherwise I get in trouble. But so he lives in the best city, and he travels to New York all the time. This guy is amazing. He has really funny series on YouTube that he's been doing about being a comedian and how he lives his life as a comedian. I'm going to butcher his name. I know it. He said it to me 8 times, and I'm still going to butcher it. But hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully he forgives me, and he's allowed to correct me. Please give it up for James McAliney.
Cool.
Did I get it right?
Yes, you got it right, James.
Yes.
McAliney. Awesome.
Yes.
I didn't know you were a big Eagles fan. Wow.
Dude, I am. That's, you know what? That almost got me beat up every year in school. I was like the only kid with an Eagles starter jacket in Texas. So
Wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. In Texas. Yeah. I mean, yeah. You bring those Texas. Yeah. As an Eagles fan, you either gotta be beaten up by a Dallas Cowboys fan or do the beating up.
that's right. And I was a small kid, so I had to do a lot of beating up there. So kind of give everybody your background and how you got started in comedy, how long you've been doing it, like just kind of your origin story, like you're a superhero.
Okay. Yeah. So I started comedy officially for good 3.5 years ago. I had many tries and attempts going back to like 2013. But then I officially started like a couple days after Trump's inauguration. So everyone was doing Trump jokes, and I was like, is this what comedy is going to be from now on? But luckily that died down, and now we're back to same old open mic jokes. And yeah, so I've been doing it for 3.5 years. Yeah, I'm from Philadelphia. I don't know.
Did you start doing it in Philadelphia, or did you immediately start going to New York?
So I actually started because I'm from like Philadelphia area. I was like, I don't want to I was like scared to do it around people I knew. So I actually drove all the way to South Jersey, like over an hour away, to do it like in front of no one I knew. And that actually ended up being really great because they got like a small community down there. So I made all these friends down there. So now I'm like forced to drive to South Jersey all the time because a lot of my friends are there. And then I started about like 7 months in, I started driving up to New York. And that's been really fun. Like more recently, before the shutdown, I was driving up to New York on like a Friday morning, doing open mics the whole day, sleeping in my car, doing open mics the next day, and then driving back and, just being as hardcore as you can. It's just really awesome.
Dude, that's a hustle. Do you have a day job? Do you have like a day job?
Yes, I do. I have a day job. I work.
You don't have to tell what it is if you don't want to.
I mean, just for the fact that it's not interesting. I work at a software company. I'm essentially in charge of like coordinating outsourced software developers. It's like a very small company. There's like 4 people. So in that sense, I like it because I don't know, I'm not a big fan of like big corporate life or whatever.
That's good. I think a lot of comedians that I meet or know tend to be kind of introverts, but very smart. And so the stage is where they can let all that stuff out. And so it tends to be this different feeling. Like Luke is an engineer, super smart. super introverted, but also on stage though, it's a whole different thing. Like you get to expose that version of yourself. I don't know if I feel like it is being a superhero. Like during the day, you're just like, hey, I'm a regular guy, and then you get on stage, you're your superhero. I don't know.
No, you're right. I tried very hard to hide it from a lot of people. I was really embarrassed about it. I think it took 6 months to tell my parents. Hopefully they don't know at my job. I think they still don't know, but they might know, but they know that they shouldn't tell me. There was one guy I worked with who like brought it up, because you can Google me, I guess, and find out. And he brought it up. Did you say something about you doing stand-up comedy? And I obviously didn't, but I was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, is he gonna spread this to the whole office? And he was fired 2 weeks later. So
nice. You didn't have anything to do with that, right?
Yeah, no. Actually, I was kind of like sad that he got fired, because he was like way more incompetent than me. So it was like my safety blanket, because he did the same thing as me. So I was like, oh, if he can suck as much at his job and still have it, I have safety. But that didn't work out.
I thought you were like rubbing your hands together when he left. Like, that's right. Bring it up again. I dare you.
Oh yeah, I'm not that evil and conniving yet. A couple more years in comedy, you never know.
Yeah. What's your favorite places to go in New York? I've been up there. We've been up there a couple times. We've done shows, Broadway. Was it Stand Up New York, or was it the Stand?
Yeah.
It was the Stand, I think.
Stand,
LOL,
yeah.
Broadway.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been all around there. What's your favorite place?
I haven't really gotten on many shows, so it's just a lot of open mic life. I like Greenwich Village Comedy Club. Tends to be really good, because you don't need a lot of people to fill it, and it's really fun. All the interesting stuff happens there.
That's the one that's downstairs, right? Underground?
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's downstairs. Most of them are underground, actually. And
that's a yellow and red sign one, right? Is it a yellow and red sign? It's a little, and when you go on stage, like it's like, but you're standing between two black boxes almost, or something.
Right. Yeah, it's very small.
Love that one.
You can't even see the audience.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my favorite place in New York. I don't know. In general, my strategy recently has been just doing as many open mics as I can, so like 5 a day. Also, the other good ones are the Comedians on the Loose at the Black Cat, LES. That's an open mic. That's a fun place to go as well.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and that's the great thing about New York is there's, especially in that one little area right there, there's so many clubs and mics. I remember I went up there with my family on a vacation, and I had already booked to do Dangerfields and Broadway, but I wanted to do a mic. So as soon as we landed and were dropped off at our hotel, which we stayed in Times Square, I immediately took the subway over to Greenwich, and I went down and did an open mic there, and it was cool. But you're right, because it's so tight. Like, you don't have to have that many people, but it feels more packed when there's people. It's great. And I had a great show there. I just ran my set for my 2 shows that I did, and I did Dangerfields later that night, and then I did Broadway the next night. And I love New York comedy's the best, man. It's like, I wish we lived there.
It's great. I had a friend. I haven't done too many bringer shows, just because I don't have a lot of friends to come out to New York City. But I had a friend or I knew someone who like wasn't good at comedy, but they did a bringer show at Greenwich Village, and like they looked amazing. I'm like, oh, that if you pack that club, anything you do on stage is just gonna look great.
Sure that. Luke, do you have a question? I saw you saying something.
Yes, I thought it was interesting. I didn't meet James, but I found out about you through YouTube, which is very interesting. And I'm a fan of your videos. I like how you're like kind of documenting parts of the comedy journey, because that's not something that you can find a lot of comedians doing, and that's really cool. How or when did you start it, and what motivated you to kind of start like documenting that stuff?
Yeah, I started working on it probably the beginning of 2018, but I didn't release anything to 2019 because I just didn't know how to film things. I didn't know how to edit. I had to learn all that stuff. And you know, it was like I wanted to do something like different, and like a lot of people do podcasts, but I'm not like the best at doing podcasts. I didn't have like an interesting idea. And I just really liked watching. At the time, I really liked watching the Louis C.K. show, Louis, and the Pete Holmes show.
Crashing.
Crashing, yeah.
I love that show.
and I love those, but I also thought like these are like so unrealistic, and these are people that just got successful very quick. It's not like a realistic view of like what it is to like do the open mics, which is kind of what comedy is for like most newer comedians. I've only been doing it like 3.5 years, so I'm still pretty new. And I don't know, I just thought it would be an interesting way to tell stories. And I ended up loving it. It's like been a great experience, and I'm trying to show what the experience is like being a comedian starting out.
I would agree that Louis probably was not as accurate as it could be. I don't know, but I thought Crashing was pretty accurate. Like he still had to go bark. He still had cruddy times being able to go up and stuff. I mean, but they did truncate a lot of his stuff. Like his first season, like they truncated everything really fast. So they started out like, oh, you've been doing comedy for a while, and he kind of had a home club. But yeah, they jumped really fast, like from him being like open micer to like going on the road with TJ Miller, and then doing, it's like they did do that, but I felt like there was a lot of realism there that maybe I don't think you'd want to do 2 seasons of him as an open micer. That would be boring.
Yeah, I agree. I guess it was just they just sped it up too quickly. I'm like, this takes years. Times and also it's very. I feel like it's very like lonely comedy, and I don't think that show really captured how like you're just by yourself. If you have a car, you're just driving in your car all the time. It can be brutal sometimes.
Yeah, no. And in LA, that's the thing is you have to go from show to show. You're in the car, and maybe it's only 10 miles away, but it might be half an hour to get there, or, whatever. And it's just like, it's insane. Yeah. Traffic. So and that's what I liked about New York too, is you could get up and get a bunch of mics in a small area really fast. And in LA, that's not as common. You have to really plan out your day and include traffic to be able to get to the next mic. So you might start a mic at like 2:30 or 3:30 if you're lucky, and then be doing mics all the way until like 10 or 11. And maybe if you're lucky, you get a show, but you're only going to do like 4 mics or 5 mics. You're not going to be able to do 10 mics in that time period. I know people have done, 5 or 6 in one night, and that's great, but it's just super difficult. And you have to really plan it out. You have to plan it like you're going to war, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's difficult. What I was getting into before the quarantine was like finding good music mics, because if you find a good music mic with an actual audience there who pays attention and a good host, they give you like 15 minutes, and like that's just amazing. Like that improves your act so much compared to doing like a 5-minute set or something like that.
Well, also those people are not expecting comedy, right? So if you go to a comedy mic, there's all the comedians there. They're in their own head, or they're looking at their set, or they're trying to figure it out. They're not giving you feedback. At the other mics, most of those people aren't comedians. They're going to be poets or musicians or whatever. And so you're going to get a different display, and you're going to get an honest feedback, right? If your joke sucks, they're not going to laugh at it. Yeah. But if your joke is good, they'll laugh at it because they're not expecting comedy. They're not there for comedy. They're there for, to hear Billy play his acoustic guitar for 15 minutes about a song about a girl he met at a coffee shop last week, So it's like, whatever.
Which can be good, but also like I've done a lot of like crappy bar shows where the host started off with like, how many of you are expecting comedy to be here tonight? And people just want to watch TV or whatever. They don't care or whatever. And those can be fun, but they're a fight. They can also be completely not fun. Like that's comedy at its like rawest. Like you just gotta pound and try and say anything so they pay attention.
And what made you want to start doing stand-up comedy? Like what changed that? Because you said you started. But like, what changed? What made you want to do it?
I guess it was like listening to podcasts when they first came out. Like I remember in college around like 2009 is when like most of the big podcasts started coming out. Like I don't know, what did I listen to? Like Adam Carolla show, Chris Hardwick, Mark Maron. Most of them I don't listen to anymore. But at the time it was like just this new thing to me. I'd never and they were like very much romanticizing the life and freedom of comedy. And I just remember like having a tough time in college, just like going to bed with my headphones on and just being like, yeah, I want to be a comedian. That sounds awesome. Not thinking of like how hard it would be, but I do enjoy that. So it's a good thing that I do enjoy comedy.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing is a lot of people, we do romanticize it, right? Even as comedians, sometimes we go, it's so great to get on stage and to kill and get those laughs. But all the work that we put in leading up to that point, we don't always give 100% of that out. We don't tell everybody that information. That's why I like that you're documenting it, because there's ups and downs, right? There's great nights, bad nights, good nights, okay nights. Sometimes where you're like, I'm not feeling it tonight, or I'm not feeling it today, and you just still go out there and grind. What would you say is like the hardest part of comedy for you?
For me, it's probably confidence is the hardest thing, because I struggle with confidence. I'm trying to be like, I don't know, I'm trying to be like vulnerable on stage, and that can be very insecure. So I think the more confident I am, depending on the room or whatever, the better my set goes. But yeah, confidence can be a brutal thing. I definitely, because you want to like open up. You don't want to be like too protected and like show nothing of yourself, because that's not interesting. But you also want to open up. And sometimes if you open up or like say embarrassing things about yourself, and then like, someone heckles you or just even looks at you the wrong way, depending on how bad of a place you're in, that can really like hurt you. Or I don't know. I feel like on stage sometimes I've had a couple of like snaps where I've gotten a little more angry than I should have at an audience member, something like that. And I have 2 episodes that deal with it or whatever. It's nothing bad, but they just get to me. Like sometimes, like one comedian, it was another comedian who said like, you're more of a writer than a performer. And that like, that's not a bad thing, but somehow it just got to me, and it just like hurt me so much that I just like saw red and started yelling at him and so angry, stuff like that. That's such a petty open mic insult, but like it's just being vulnerable on stage and being secure enough not to feel bad when people, I don't know, bully you or whatever, or just don't even care, I guess.
It's such a New York thing too. Like aggressive comedy is such a New York thing. It's not an LA thing. Like literally,
yeah.
it's not like one of my favorite comedians out there in New York. You're gonna laugh because you're probably, I don't know if you've seen him before, but Aaron Berg. Do you know who Aaron Berg is?
I don't know.
He's like a bald headed guy. He's like looks like a mini Vin Diesel. Luke knows, he was at our show,
Okay.
but I actually like him a lot. But he just goes after the audience. In LA, you would never go after the audience. But we went to a show while we were there, and comedians went after the audience time and time again the whole show. I was like, never in LA. Never would you do this in LA. Like you wouldn't, you know? And so it's such a different style of comedy that I could see that happening in New York, but in LA, if someone shouted out to you, other people in the room would be like, shut up, man. Like it's such a weird thing. That's so crazy.
Yeah, maybe that is maybe I got to go out to LA and try it, because I'm not that like aggressive guy, but I have kind of developed the skills to like defend myself against aggressive people, and New York's aggressive, Philly is pretty aggressive, and then like even like the outskirts, like I would do like a lot of like mics and shows in like Allentown, Bethlehem, Lancaster, Harrisburg, which are all like industrialized towns that like aren't going through great times. And yeah, it could just be brutal. You know, anything goes on stage, you know, it can be tough, like getting through just crappy shows. The audience doesn't like you. You do have to kind of develop some sort of skin and some sort of ability to deal with them as a comedian and make it funny, because if you just get mean right away, that no one wants to see that.
I think East Coast comedians have that thing where people out there tend to be a little more aggressive anyways, and so they have to learn to deal with hecklers. Like I think I've been heckled like twice in the entire time I've ever done comedy. Like I can't think of that many times. Like honestly, you know. But when we were in New York, like literally, like people heckled people all the time, and I was like, "This is insane!" Like you would never, like at an open mic, I'm like, "You never do this in LA. Like this would never happen." But it's cool, and that's what I like about the different coast of comedy and stuff. You know,
there's like I like it when like sometimes people just don't know, like they're an audience member, they're just talking along. I don't mind that, but like when another comedian starts heckling, like what? You're trying to do the same thing as me, like. I don't know what you're doing. So that's when I get really angry and start like in New York, someone I didn't even know was like, they just got up on stage and started crapping on me. But everyone else in the room didn't know who I was, so they didn't care at all. So I think you learned a valuable lesson not to do that. But I was just like, where does this come from? Like, I don't know. I think I was like not funny on stage. I was trying something very like vulnerable and like too mushy, like not the right, like I was like talking about happiness in an abstract way, which, you know, is not, you know, try it out, but like it's not something I do regularly or whatever. And he's like, yeah, I can just bully this guy or whatever. And so yeah, he tried.
Who are some of your comedy like inspirations? Who like of like comedians you listen to or watch or enjoy that kind of inspire you?
I like Mike Birbiglia is a big one. I used to listen to Mark Maron's podcast all the time. I like some of his comedy too, like his Creationist Museum bit was really good. Dana Gould was a big one, and Stuart Lee, who's a British guy. I really liked his stuff.
He has a couple good books, Stuart Lee.
Yeah, I've never like gotten the time. I hear they're amazing. Like he breaks
They're great.
down sets and stuff. I think I like went to the library and they didn't have them, so I gave up. But
No, I bought him on Kindle. I think he has. I think two of them you can get on Kindle or whatever, but the other one, I think he has a third one that you can't get for some reason.
Yeah.
But I have one or two of them. So
nice. Yeah, I'll recheck those out. Yeah.
I'm a comedy nerd like that too. I like to watch and listen and study everybody I possibly can. So
yeah, who are your big guys?
oh man, that's the problem is I listen to everything from like Bob Newhart and Bob Hope to, you know, Louis and Jerry, and like I listen and watch everything because at heart I'm a comedy nerd. Like I enjoy comedy so much that it's just like I will watch and listen to anybody. If anybody drops a new album, like I don't care if I've never seen them on TV once, I'll listen to anybody because there's always something to learn, and everybody has their own unique point of view. That's what makes comedy great.
Yeah.
You don't have to sound like anybody else. You don't have to be like anybody else. You know, there's not for like comedy, there's not like, you know, rock comedy, pop comedy, jazz. It's not like that. There's nothing like that. It's just comedy. Everybody has their own style, you know?
Yeah, I do like that. Yeah, there is a lot of like discussion, especially in the New York scene. There's a lot of like, there's different camps, and one of them is like jokes. You got to write hard jokes. These newer comedians who get on stage and are like telling stories and stuff like that. And I'm just like, whatever they want to do, they can do it. Like I'm not going to judge. And I've got to be honest, I do like the storytellers and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is, like Carlin was known to just do these long rants. They weren't stories, but they also weren't straight jokes either. They were like this long rant with these punchlines every now and then. But it was, you know, something different. And Richard Pryor would say outlandish stuff. If you go watch old Eddie Murphy, like it set up punch, but it was longer rants too. Like there was just different people have different styles, and I like that. You know, one of my favorites, I love Bob Newhart, but he does these weird, like almost sketch kind of bits where he's pretending to talk to like Abraham Lincoln or work at a, you know, do all these different things. It's like whatever makes people laugh.
Yeah. No, those are all great people. I love listening to older people. I think the most recent stand-up special that I really liked was Simon Amstell's special. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I'll check it out.
It's on Netflix. It's very soft, I guess is the right word. He's just like, but it's, I don't know. I just like, it was like in an old crappy theater in London, and he's just like telling all these like sad stories about his life, which obviously isn't for everyone, but I don't know. I just enjoyed that. It's comforting hearing people tell sad stories.
Luke, do you have some people that are your favorites that you like to listen to?
I do. Birbiglia is on my list as well. I love his storytelling and just his like the kind of the drama that he adds to his stories. I'm really into that. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just like kind of like James. I'm all over the place with watching stand-ups. So I couldn't I couldn't even list like. There's so many that I'm like just going through on what's it like Dry Bar and Netflix, and just there's so much good stuff lately.
Although if I had to say I could only listen to one comedian for the rest of my life, it would be Chris Rock. Like unfortunately, like I love Chris Rock. He inspired me when I was younger, and like literally he was the comedian I wanted to be like. I just made my wife watch Never Scared because I have HBO Max. It's like every single Chris Rock specials on there, including Bigger and Blacker, which is one of my favorites. But I love Never Scared because it has the ones like about failing as a father and dealing with that stuff. So I love that kind of stuff. and he does stories too. Like he does the story thing, but he also does. I guess I didn't realize it, or maybe I did realize it a long time ago. But he does a lot of rhyming stuff in there to like, and he says things 2 or 3 times, so you're on board with what he's about to give you the punchline to. He'll set it up, you know, like he has a whole bit about it's all right if it's all white, and he's talking about like drugs or gun running or, you know, alcohol or whatever, but he says it's all right if it's all white, like 2 or 3 times, and then he starts hitting you with the punchlines, and then he comes back to it so you know you're still on that topic, and he does it again, and then he comes back, and it's so intelligent. It's just one of those things where that's why he's so great, is because, you know, he gets you prepared. He gets your mind ready for, okay, what's he going to say about this now? And he reminds you what the premise is. So he may have gone 3 minutes or 5 minutes about talking about the subject, but now he's going to remind you, this is the premise again. And now I'm going to hit you again with some more stuff. And I just think it's amazing. He's always going to be one of my favorites no matter what. One day I would love to work with Chris Rock. And actually one of my goals is to do the Apollo. Like, I know it sounds crazy weird, but like I would always love to do the Apollo.
That's one of the most legendary, places to do it. Yeah, as far as like speaking, Chris Rock has the best way.
His cadence is so amazing. Ugh.
I hear like when he works stuff out that he'll just say it flatly without his cadence.
Ugh.
That would be amazing to see.
Yeah.
To see like, you know, his whole process of going through the writing. That's kind of what's unrelatable, I think, with watching like Netflix specials or just like very famous comedians, is like they're just so far ahead of you. Sometimes it's hard to like, you know, I want to see someone who's like halfway through the process or just figuring stuff out, because I can learn more from that than just seeing a completely polished Chris Rock or something like that.
I think the person that's doing that right now for everybody is Andrew Schultz. He does. What's that? I
said, okay, yeah. What do you mean?
Like he doesn't really have like built up bits a lot of times. He does a lot of crowd work and riffing, but he does have some built bits that he does here and there or whatever. His 441 special and his 551 special, they had similar jokes. There was a lot of jokes in the crossover there, but he just you could watch him build bits through his little videos that he does, because he might do a crowd work thing and then he builds a bit out of that later on and makes something. I mean, he's showing his process. He's showing the process of comedy, I feel like, in a lot of his stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll check that out. I've seen like some of his bits where like his crowd work bits and stuff like that. I didn't realize. That's interesting that you see his process. I think I checked him out. I checked him out like a year or 2 ago. And the way he marketed himself was just so cringy to me. It was like, in a world where you just can't say anything anymore.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm speaking truth to power or whatever. I'm like, you're just being, I don't know. Like, he seemed like.
He's good at marketing himself. Like, he's good at being this like aggressive marketer. I wish I could do that. I don't have that skill.
I agree. As far as marketing, he's maybe the best right now at that, which is honestly a good reason to watch him. Regardless, it's just learn how he markets himself.
Yeah, he's smart. So last question, where can people find you? Where can they see some of your stand-up? Where can they see your videos? If you want to shout out the name, if you have Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is, throw that out there.
Check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/James McAliney, or you could just search The Comedy Diaries of James or James McAliney. All my social media is just James McAliney, but YouTube is where I think I have over 30 episodes of just kind of chronicling what it's like to be an amateur comedian. It's a docuseries, so check that out.
That's cool. You should take it and turn it into like an actual long documentary after a while, and like put it on Amazon or something like that.
Yeah,
people don't get to see that stuff, you know.
Got a lot of footage. That sounds like a huge project.
Hey, it's a project that could pay you later on, right? You put it on Amazon, people watch it, you get paid for their views and stuff. I mean, I don't know if you're getting paid on YouTube, but if you can get paid, get paid. I'm all about getting paid.
I am not. Yeah, I am getting paid too, but I am not getting paid. You need 1,000 subscribers and all that stuff. So I'm working there, but it's a little while away.
You got it. And Luke, where can people find you at?
Luke LaCoy on the social medias.
Luke LaCoy on the social medias. You could find me, comedypreneur.com, or you can go look up James Creviston, James D. Creviston on YouTube, or jamesdcreviston.com. And then just keep it going, guys. Keep writing, keep grinding. It's we're all getting back out of this now. It's tough. As James said, there's going to be more, there's more stuff opening up on the East Coast. Unfortunately, in California, we're still shut down and not doing stuff, but now's the time to write and prepare And if you listen to the last podcast, we talked about writing. So next podcast where we don't have a guest, we're going to talk about some more processes to get you ready to get back out there and do stand-up comedy. Don't forget to check out the Comedypreneur book that I wrote, how to produce comedy shows for fun and profit. This way you can build your own shows. You can do your own thing. And like I said, I'm all about making money. So if you can find a way to make yourself money, help people get more stage time, get yourself more stage time, and get paid, go for it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, and have a great week. Bye.
Yeah, we're about to get clean up in here. So clean your mouth out with a bar of soap and get ready for the clean comedy.